Hi guys, today I made this gorgeous chicken and apricot curry and it was so tasty, kind of like the Indian take on sweet and sour. It was nice and sweet from all the apricots and the jaggery and sour from the vinegar and loads of spices as well. It was just gorgeous. And there was really nice crunch provided by these fried potato straws, or that's chips to you and me. I think the trick to making a curry or any dish with a big long list of ingredients is to group the ingredients according to when you add them to the pot. All the whole spices are added first, so I'm going to add them to this ramekin, starting with 12 peppercorns, followed by 10 cloves, 4 green cardamom pods, but just bash them first to bruise them and open them up. Then add 4 dried Kashmiri chilies and an 8cm stick of cinnamon. Then set that aside while you chop up 2 red onions. Chop them as fine as you can and add them to a bowl to set aside until later. Now chop up 200 grams of tomatoes and add them to a separate bowl because these will be added at a separate time. Now for the ground spices. I try to grind my own whenever I can with this old coffee grinder because it's so much better than anything you buy in the supermarket. Start off with a handful of dried Kashmiri chilies, enough to render about a tablespoon of Kashmiri chili powder, and then add it to a bowl for your ground spices. Then I added roughly 2 teaspoons of cumin seeds and ground them up as well and added them to the Kashmiri chili powder. Next was about 2 teaspoons of coriander seed, ground them up and added them to the bowl. Then I added 2 teaspoons of my own home ground garam masala spice mix. I'll give the recipe for that in the description below. Next, I added 1 teaspoon of shop-bought ground turmeric. I use shop-bought because I tried grinding the dried stuff and nearly broke my grinder. Now to your bowl of ground spices, you're going to add some fresh grated garlic and ginger because they're all to be added at the same time. I'm using 7 cloves of garlic here and grate them with my microplane grater. I hate this job. If you can think of a better way to do it with a mini food chopper or something, go for it instead. Then I grated this chunk of peeled ginger. It's about 40 grams, but don't get bogged down with weights, they're not that important. Then add your grated garlic and ginger to your dried powdered spice bowl and set them aside until later. Now the last bit of prep you need to do is take 8 chicken breasts and just chop them up. I'm cutting them into thirds, but cut them up however big or small you'd like them. Now in a large pot, heat about 100 milliliters of vegetable oil until it's good and hot. Then add your whole spices from earlier and fry them until they start to sizzle and become really aromatic. Then add your chopped onion and let fry for about 10 minutes until the onion becomes soft and a little transparent. With this dish, you're supposed to leave those spices whole, but those chilies were really just grinding my gears. I could just imagine people taking a bite out of them and really regretting it. Whatever about the cinnamon stick, I think if that's on your plate, you know not to eat it. So during this 10 minutes, I went at those chilies with the scissors and just cut them all up so that they wouldn't be annoying people. Maybe that was taking away a little bit from the authenticity of the dish, but you can probably tell from my voice that I'm not an authentic Indian chef. Once the onions have had their 10 minutes, then go in with your chopped tomato. Stir them around and cook them for another 2 or 3 minutes. Season with about 2 teaspoons of sea salt flakes. Mix that in as well, and then add your ground spices with your grated ginger and garlic. Stir those in as well and cook for only about 1 minute before you add your chicken pieces. Stir those as well and cook them for 2 to 3 minutes until they're all nice and coated with that spicy, oniony, tomatoey mixture. Now add a good tablespoon of jaggery, or I'm using palm sugar, which I think is more or less the same thing. It's really unrefined, toffee-ish, fudgy sugar. It is quite specialist though, so if you can't find it, just use light brown sugar. Now for more sweetness, I'm adding 300 grams of these soft, pitted, ready-to-eat apricots. And to counteract all that sweetness, I'm adding 100 milliliters of white wine vinegar. Give everything a quick mix before you add a little bit of cold water, just enough to cover everything. That was a little bit over 300 milliliters for me. Then stir it all up and bring up to the boil. Once it's boiling, give it another stir, turn the heat down to low and clamp the lid on and let it simmer for 30 minutes. Next, take about 500 grams of peeled potatoes and cut them into fine matchsticks. Then immerse them in water and leave them steep for about 15 minutes to get rid of all that starch before you dry them on some paper towels. Now heat about an inch of vegetable oil in a saucepan to 180 degrees Celsius. I'm using a candy thermometer just so I have an accurate reading. Now fry your potatoes in batches. I'm lowering them in with this slotted spoon because this goes really violent. The spatters everywhere and I couldn't risk just dropping them into the oil. I fried these for about 4 minutes a batch, but that depends on how you cut them. Just stir them occasionally and take them out when they go nice and golden like this. Then continue with your second batch of potatoes and keep going until they're all beautifully golden and really crispy, and take them out and drain them on a sheet of kitchen towel and season them with sea salt while they're still really hot. This will make the sea salt stick to them. Then at the table, sprinkle them over your big pot of curry for some gorgeous crunch, followed by some fresh coriander or cilantro as it's known in the States. Some people don't like this, but I love it. I could eat a salad of this. Then plate up by adding a few scoops of rice to your plate. I'm using my easy pilau rice. I'll put the link to that video in the description as well. Followed by a big heaping pile of that delicious curry. I should say that this recipe is for 8 people. I was only cooking for 4, but I always double the quantity so that I can eat like a greedy little pig the next day as well. I'm so glad I did that. Can't wait for tomorrow. So that's it. Thanks a million for watching, guys. Be sure to let me know how you get on if you try this recipe at home. You can contact me on social media. All the links to my accounts are in the description below, and I'd love to hear from you. If you liked this video, you should subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get more up-to-date recipes, or check out my blog. A link is in the description below where you'll find the full recipe at www.rookiecook.org.